Between the Golden State Warriors and the Blazers. Welcome to NBA TV's post-game coverage. NBA champs Caron Butler, Steve Smith, Jared Greenberg back out to Denver in a couple of moments for post-game press conferences. And Smitty, last time the Blazers were in the Western Conference Finals, you were on that squad.
2000, and give a whole bunch of credit to the entire Portland Trailblazers team. I thought Terry Stotts pulled and made some adjustments. It's big, not starting two guys coming out in the third quarters, and Mark Harkless still coming out playing well. CJ McCollum, a professional one-on-one player, went to work.
Yeah, and also Evan Turner. I thought he did a remarkable job of stepping up when you was wondering. I thought it would have been Al-Farouq Aminu or one of those guys, but Evan Turner stepped up in a major, major way.
Here's CJ. Guys, CJ had 37 points on 17 of 29 shooting. 22 of his points came in the second half, and they really needed every single one of these points because Damian Lillard just couldn't get going, so CJ carried him.
And what I love, Caron, old school, he didn't want to screen and roll so they could trap him. So he just said, hey, I have enough in my bag to go one-on-one. Craig, unbelievable defender, but a little bit of a separation right there. And on balance and on time, he knocked that big shot down.
You know how much confidence you have to have in your ability to put someone on the island every time with all eyes on you and be able to get in your spots and deliver time and time again. He did that all night long.
And we were talking in the postgame show, in the pregame show about the lack of Game 7 experience, and maybe that reared its ugly head early on. Portland fell behind by 17. Does that have something to do with it? You kind of then get woken up by that?
You know, I don't think so, because I don't think the guys in Denver had that much Game 7 experience, those young guys. So I think it came down to, you have some veterans. They've been through a lot of playoff disappointment in Portland, and you can tell they were locked in whether they won or lost. I love the way they were locked in, the way they came and competed and didn't get down, because you definitely could have held your head down. They were down 17 at one point, and they continued to battle.
Yeah, and I think you can see from McCollum's standpoint, he led this ball club tonight. You know, Dame wasn't having his best game, even though he filled up the stat sheet from points to assists. He had a little bit of everything. But I think McCollum, you know, he even went back to the Lee Daniels. You know what I mean? Like, look, I come from there, you know,
right.
And I think that's what his state of mind was coming into the game where, you know, we're the underdogs and we're going to come and get a quality win on the road.
You know, I also thought, even though they shot bad and they were down, they didn't turn it over, Jared. They only had 4 turnovers for this entire games. And when you don't give away possessions, that gives you a chance.
Yeah, Denver's going to be kicking themselves on this one, right, guys? Up 17. This is exactly what you would want to see from Damian Lillard. He scores 13 points on 3 of 17 shooting. Lillard just 2 of 9 from downtown. But the Nuggets missed 17 consecutive threes to end the game. They missed 11 free throws, and they get outscored in the second half to lose this one. The Nuggets had this one.
Jared, those are the two stats. I mean, you go the last 17 three-point shots you missed. Yes, we understand you can go cold there, but you love to hit those in this type of game. But you're at that free throw line. There's nobody around. There's no hand contest. It's just you and that free throw line, and they missed 11 of them tonight. They're going to be kicking themselves, and they lost by 4.
You can't go out like that, especially at home. Is that 10%?
Yeah, that's 10%.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, 10% from 3 at home, you're not going to be able to win a game like this.
No, the numbers are not good at all for this Denver Nuggets team. You know, for the entire game, as you said, 2 for 19 from the three-point line. But which one's going to be worse here? The three-point line or the free throw line here, because of all those crucial missed free throws?
You know, I would look at the free throws for me, because even though there were some wide open threes, I just think getting to that line, and no one's saying you're going to be able to shoot, you know, 100%, but you talk about 11 missed free throws. They didn't shoot bad, but those are the ones you got to make and take. I mean, the missed threes, all of these misses, but I think also for them is they got to be upset about their defense. They couldn't get stops in that second half at all.
I think you really got to be upset about your three-point misses also, because when you're at home, you should be able and capable of going out there and hit non-contested shots. And a lot of those shots from the three-point arc was non-contested, you know, from the Portland Trailblazers, because they gave them a heavy dosage of getting back to the guard to stop the penetration. And on the kickbacks, you know, you was able to line it up and have a legit shot at it, but you missed out on a ton of opportunity. And look, you can't do nothing about it now, but it's just a learning curve and something that they got to build on.
Again, we'll get you back out to Pepsi Center in a couple of moments for the post-game press conferences. We'll hear from both head coaches. You heard at the end of the game, if you were watching over on ABC, what what Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson were talking about in terms of Terry Stotts. I mean, give him all the credit in the world. I mean, think about what this team's gone through this year, not just the Nurkic injury, but CJ missed a big chunk of the late part of the season with an injury. This is a team who's trying to find themselves with all these young pieces here, Karan.
Look, I think you got to give a ton of credit to Coach Stotts, but you got to give a ton of credit to Neil O'Shea also for going out and acquiring Cantor. I thought that was the biggest pickup in the offseason because, you know, you had the injury, and I'm going to say during midseason, you have the injury, then all of a sudden, he's the guy that really kind of been the stabilizer for you. You know what I mean? From scoring the basketball to, you know, being a body. Look, I can't believe I'm saying this, but he was playing defense, you know, and so many times, you know, and he's not known for that. But sometimes your best defense is your offense, and we know he can do that. So he kept them on their heels. This is Ramadan season, and he's doing that, you know what I mean? And he's a little fatigued, but he's out there being the best possible version of himself.
Yeah, Rodney Hood, who left the game with a hyperextended knee, he played a big part before getting hurt tonight. He obviously only had 6 points, but, you know, now we're going to start to look ahead and say, wow, what do we look at with Golden State facing Portland here in this series?
Well, you know, you got to look at how you're going to play pick and rolls in his Cantor, but you also got to look at you wanted that opportunity to get there. Karan said it best. Sometimes you got to lean on the veterans, and Evan Turner, we still got to give him some credit. He had 10 points in that fourth quarter, stepped up. Rodney Hood not playing, didn't come back. No, Mo Harkless, Amino not playing well. Evan Turner off that bench. They dusted him off. He came off and had a game offensively.
Quick turnaround, though, for the Warriors. You only get 1 day off to get ready for Tuesday.
It's a quick turnaround for the Warriors, but what I love with the walk-off interview with CJ McCollum is that he was like, we'll be ready. Yeah. Like, it's like I welcome that challenge. Like, we're built for this. We're made for this moment. So let the chips fall where they may.
Remember, the Blazers have had their season ended a couple of times during this run by the Warriors, by Golden State's. Let's go to the podium, guys. Here's Terry Stotts.
Terry. Could I have a stat sheet? Haven't had a chance to look at one. Thank you.
Terry, Sekou Smith from NBA.com.
Okay.
At some point, do you just get out of the way and let CJ do his thing down the course, you know, down the stretch of this game?
Well, yes and no. I mean, obviously we try and get him the ball in places and have his teammates in right spots, but he wanted the ball, and you know, he has the ability to make things happen with it. But you know, obviously we went to him down the stretch, and he made some big plays. But you know, yes and no. Spacing is important. You could call spacing getting out of his way as well.
Kind of a follow-up to that, you guys fell down early, big, and it seemed like CJ kind of kept you afloat. What are you telling your guys after the tough first quarter?
Just stay with it. Yeah, I mean, our offense was really poor the entire first half. You know, just keep trusting each other. I think trust was the biggest thing. That look, we got a lot of guys who are really confident, and they do trust each other, and generally we find a way. And like I said, the first half offense, it wasn't just the first quarter. I mean, it was not pretty, but you just know it's a long game. It's a game 7, and you have no choice but to keep fighting.
Terry Eggers, Portland Tribune. What are your emotions after going through that 7-game series, and now you're in the conference finals for the first time in 19 years?
You know what? Before I answer that question, I do need to say I thought Mike Malone and his staff did an outstanding job. The Denver Nuggets had an outstanding season. No one saw that coming. With what they did in the regular season, winning close games, winning the division. Jokic is an amazing player. They're a young team. They're going to have a lot of success going forward. So they have my utmost respect on not only what they did in the regular season, but what they did in the playoffs. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that. So your question? My emotions? You know, this is arguably the biggest win that we've had in the franchise for a long time. And to be a part of it, to do it the way we did, I'm thrilled. I'm really happy for our guys. You know, as a coach, I think you experience the joy of the team. Having different guys come in, Rodney go down, Evan coming in, and you know, he scored more points tonight than he scored in the whole series probably. You know, it's just to do it in different ways. Myers coming out, it's such a group thing. And as a coach, that's what you appreciate the most.
Coach, you called timeout about 4.5 minutes into the second quarter. You're down 17 points, 39-22. What do you tell your team at that point to keep them engaged when the frustration level had to be enormous?
Actually, I mean, they're engaged. There wasn't going to be any quit. I don't think they ever stopped believing. I didn't really have to say much. I don't know what I said, but I didn't have to say much because it was still early enough in the game where we've found ways to come out of those holes. So it was just about regrouping. And again, talk about the trust, and trust and competing are the two biggest things for us.
Terry Youngmasuk, ESPN. In the first round, Dame kind of sealed that series, and then tonight it was CJ sealing the second round. What have you seen from these guys? They've long wanted to kind of be known and recognized as one of the best backcourts, and now you guys are about to face Steph and Clay.
It's a luxury to have two guys like that who can find ways to score in different ways. You know, CJ does it in one way, Dame does it in another. On a night where Dame struggled shooting the ball, CJ came up big. That's what, being part of a team. So those two guys, if one of them, mostly one of them's going to have something going. So you kind of count on that. And, it was CJ tonight. But it's a luxury to have two guys who can score like that.
Terry, Michael Spencer from CBS here in Denver. You guys hold them to 2 of 19 from the three-point line. Did you do anything different defensively or just cold shooting on their part?
I'd like to say that we closed out a little bit better, didn't give them quite the same looks. We didn't double team as much. We didn't give up any threes in transition. As far as missing shots, I think it's always a little bit of both. Some of it's our defense, some of it they missed some shots. Jokic hit those first two. I don't think we gave him any clean looks after that. But one of our focus defensively was closing out under control, said that you can take away three and take away the drive, and I thought we did a better job with that. It's probably not so much their shooting percentage, but the fact they only took 19.
Terry, you've had a lot of faith in Evan Turner this year. Expound a little bit on the performance he gave you there in the second half especially.
Well, Evan quietly had a really good series. I know everybody kind of looks at his scoring, but that second unit, our second unit was really good throughout this series, all 7 games. We made runs with the second unit, and Evan was a part of that. His ability to guard Paul Millsap one-on-one on the post gave us the ability to space the court on offense and have him be a ball handler. He played the entire fourth quarter in Game 6, played a lot of I don't know if he played the entire fourth quarter tonight, but he was big. And Evan's been in big games. He's a big game player. He's got a lot of confidence. He's a team guy. And he kind of does whatever we need him to do.
Coach, you brought out a different lineup to start the second half. The second half was a completely different game. What were the strategic changes that you made?
Well, honestly, it was nothing against Mo or Chief. Our starters hadn't done well throughout this series, and especially on the heels of Game 6, where Rodney and Zach had an impact on the game. We were having trouble scoring, so starting Rodney and Zach seemed the right thing to do, especially with our season in the balance. So that to me wasn't too difficult a decision. The fact Mo came in and gave us some really good minutes when we got in foul trouble. Myers coming in when Zach got foul trouble. So there was those guys that we didn't necessarily count on early, but as far as to your question about changing the lineup, that was. If Rodney and Zach hadn't done what they'd done in Game 6, maybe I wouldn't have done that. But it seemed like the right thing to do.
Terry, Joe Varden from The Athletic. Going back to post-Game 5 now, you're down 3-2. It was a rough one here. What was the mindset of the team then? And if you felt like this would be possible, what was it that made you feel good even after that one?
The fact that other than Game 5, every game's been competitive. And regular season, playoff game, they've all been very competitive. Going back home obviously gives you a little bit more confidence. And, we just played a poor game in Game 5. I mean, there's no getting around it. If we had lost a tough one and you kind of look at what ifs, but we didn't play well. And I think we were able to push that aside because we didn't give it I don't want to say effort, but we didn't play well, and that's why it's kind of easy to kind of forget about that one.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there.
All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, so Terry Stotts and the Portland Trailblazers. Remember, they got swept in the first round of the playoffs last year by New Orleans. This year, they're going to the Western Conference Finals. Damian Lillard struggled throughout, but hit some key buckets late for the Portland Trailblazers. He chatted with our own 3D Dennis Scott on the court.
All right, Dame, your first Game 7. You didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but your leadership really showed up tonight.
I mean, it was a group effort. CJ, you know, he doesn't get a lot of credit. People talk about what I'm doing and, you know, what I've done, but he's there every step of the way. And tonight, I didn't shoot the ball well, like you said, and he carried us offensively. But, you know, our supporting cast, man, Zach Collins, the last few games, Rodney Hood went down, but Rodney Hood, Evan Turner was probably the biggest thing for us tonight on both ends of the floor. Seth Curry, I mean, everybody came in and just did what we had to do. Coming into tonight, I wasn't putting pressure on myself saying, you got to shoot and you got to do this. I was like, whatever it takes to get the win, that's what I'm going to do. And regardless of how I shot the ball, we pulled it out, and that was our ultimate goal. So, you know, I'm really, really excited about that.
How big it was for Coach Stotts to shake things up with the lineup in the second half to kind of give you guys some energy?
I mean, whatever is necessary. You know, we was getting great minutes from Rodney, great minutes from Zach, like I said, and it says a lot about Mo and Chief to be able to accept that, and then when they get called on, to come in and be ready to impact the game. But that was big for Coach to notice that and actually take action. It was huge for us. Big win.
So you know what happens now. You're going back home for the Western Conference Finals. It has to feel real good to go against these Warriors.
Back to the Bay, man. I'm coming home. I know a lot of my family was planning on seeing me, so I'm happy we was able to get the job done.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, 3D. So here's what we got from these two backcourt stars in Game 7. It was all about CJ McCollum, and he was just absolutely sensational. Dame, you know, wasn't very good shooting the basketball. I mean, how surprised are you to see a game like this? It almost, didn't it feel a little bit at halftime like we were going to see the next version of the Steph Curry game where he didn't score in the first half and bam, he'd break out in the second half?
Or we was going to see the continued play of Klay Thompson the way he played in the first half and continued on, and that's what you saw from CJ McCollum. And I thought Dame did an excellent job of just rebounding the basketball, assisting the basketball, and McCollum did the same thing.
Yeah, and the one thing is, you look at it, I'm impressed by those guys. We know the scoring, and it wasn't there for Dame, but it was there for CJ. Look at the rebounds from two guards, 19 rebounds between those two. That's huge.
All right, guys, let's go back out to the podium. The head coach of the Denver Nuggets, who lost in 7, is Michael Malone.
Just want to start off by congratulating, obviously, the Blazers on a hell of a series. Congrats to Terry Stotts and that team. Lots of great players, and more importantly, a lot of good people on their roster. So happy for their success. Hope Rodney Hood is okay. And you know, for us, you know, tonight is the end of the season, but I'm not going to allow this Game 7 loss to take away from a magical year. And it doesn't feel that way right now, but when I reflect and when our players reflect on what we were able to accomplish, hell of a year. Couldn't ask for anything more from our guys.
Hey, Coach. Jamal was able to string some really strong games together in the postseason. Obviously, a tough one tonight. What's just your message to him, knowing that for you guys to maybe get to the next level, he's got to be a little more consistent, but balancing with the fact that he's still only 22?
Yeah, I mean, the future is so bright. I mean, you guys heard me say it all postseason. I love the moment. I love where we're at. But more importantly, I love where we're going and who we're going there with. And that's such a big point of what we're doing here. You know, just spending time with Mr. Kroenke and Josh, and Mr. K said it. You know, we won 61 games this year. You know, it's been over 10 years, I think, since we've won that many games. And Jamal will be a huge part of that future. You know, going into the offseason, having a game like he had, 4 of 18 from the field, that's going to be a great motivation tool for him. You know, and that's a conversation we had quite often throughout the season. And now 14 playoff games is great players bring it every night, and they produce every night. And, you know, he didn't have a great night, but it wasn't for a lack of effort. We would not be here without Jamal Murray's efforts all season long. And then on the other hand, obviously, CJ McCollum showed why they have one of the best backcourts in the NBA, put his team on his back, and made big play after big play. But, you know, Jamal is going to be a better player because of this experience.
Michael, on your left here. You've spoken a lot this season about how this is a truly special group, both on the court and how they are together off the court. Just what are you going to remember about this specific team when you look back on it, maybe years from now?
Good question. Maybe I'll answer it in a couple of years from now. Well, what I will remember, Harrison, is truly how selfless they were. And that's a lot of people talk about being selfless, and it's a fancy word up on a wall. It looks cool. But for us, it was something that we actually tried to live. And I think there were countless examples of individuals being selfless throughout the season. I look at Isaiah Thomas and Juancho up the whole game. Those guys are dying to play. They're not playing, but they're supporting their teammates. So that's what will stand out. I got Nikola Jokic in there taking blame for the loss. It's not his fault. This was a group effort. I think the cumulative effect of 14 playoff games and us asking him to do as much as we asked him to do finally took its toll on him tonight. But this group really did play for each other, not just with each other. They cared about each other on the court and off the court. And the best teams I've ever been a part of have had that kind of a chemistry and love for one another. And that's a special group.
Your offense has been really good this year. Obviously tonight, only 15 assists. In your estimation, is that just sort of where this game went wrong, was on the offensive end?
Well, you have to make shots to get the assists, obviously, to oversimplify it. But we made 2 threes tonight. I thought the game came down to 21 second chance points and us missing 11 free throws. Those are 2 huge areas right there. We talked about coming into tonight in our 3 losses to Portland. They were averaging 18 second chance points per game. They get 21 tonight. And then you leave 11 points at the foul line. Those were 2 really big factors, in my opinion, and why we lost. But, the bigger question, we were a really good offensive team this year. And whether it's giving them credit, which they deserve, and us missing a lot of open shots, we just couldn't get any rhythm offensively. This game really reminded me of Game 7 against San Antonio. First half, ugly half. Our defense was great, but we couldn't make any shots. We created no separation. Then they came out in a very aggressive manner, tied things up. And unlike Game 7 against San Antonio, we couldn't hold on for the win.
Michael, ESPN. What was Nikola's message to him? Why did he think it was his fault? And also, how difficult is it to stop that little left pull-up that CJ had going?
Well, CJ was phenomenal tonight. And all summer long, I'm going to be probably second-guessing myself. Out of a timeout, they just go 1-4 flat, and he hits a really tough pull-up. But that's a shot that he makes consistently. And Torrey played good defense, as good a defense you could ask somebody to play one-on-one. But right after, I'm saying we should have sent somebody at him. He's having a great game and makes somebody else have to make a play or make a shot. But so he's really hard to guard. As far as Nikola, that's what I love. I hope after 14 playoff games, America, everybody around the world that watches the playoffs, really came to appreciate Nikola's game. Playoff debut, almost averaged a triple-double in 14 games and was playing close to 40 minutes a night. He's arguably the best big man in the NBA. And for him to be as emotional and as upset as he was speaks to his, just truly caring. And he knows that we ask a lot of him, and he's just upset because he didn't think he did enough for us to win the game tonight. And I love the fact that he's not afraid of the pressure to put this loss on him, even though we all know it's not on him. All right, we win together, we lose together. But I love Nikola's commitment to this group, and I love him as a kid. He's wonderful to coach, and I look forward to coaching him for many years moving forward.
Michael, over here. Is it too early to look at this as a whole, maybe after Game 5, and say this is why the series got away from us?
I don't know. I mean, everything is still so raw. We talked about this a few games ago. Do you like to win? Do you hate to lose? I hate to lose. So right now Mother's Day sucks. But I don't know. We played really well in Game 4 and 5. Obviously, Game 6, we weren't able to close it out. And then coming home, you feel you have a great chance in front of your home crowd, and you don't get the job done. And as I alluded to earlier, the offensive rebounding and the free throws are factors. Defense on CJ McCollum is a factor, but we did a lot of really good things this series. Our guys grew up, which is most important. We have a lot of guys don't get Game 7 experience. We have a roster full, a locker room full of young guys that got 2 Game 7s under their belt. And how can we not be better off for that?
Mark Kisla, Denver Post. 2 things. You've seen this game offensively before this season where you don't hit the open jump shot. Can you make an adjustment when that happens, or do you just have to trust that eventually they're going to make it? And the second thing, bigger question is, to what extent can you grow out of the heartbreak of a Game 7 loss?
Yeah, I think obviously on one hand, you always ask yourself, kids, are you generating open shots? And if you're generating open looks and you're not making them, okay, you hope that eventually keep on shooting them. That's the only way you can get out of that slump. The second part of that is when you're, and I said this throughout the postseason because we had multiple examples of games like this, stop settling. So now get to the free throw line, play in attack mode. And the problem tonight was we missed 11 free throws. So that kind of compounds the issues of trying to score. And what can we take out of this? You have to understand why you win and why you lose. And tonight I thought we lost. Think about all the possessions they got. We played great defense tonight, great defense. But we just were never able to consistently gang rebound and give them one shot. When you give an opponent 21 second chance points, so that's got to be something we learn from. And that's probably one of the more troubling things for me because even in the first round, we were an elite rebounding team in the regular season. In 2 playoff rounds, 14 games, we did an awful job of rebounding, a really, really poor job. That was a constant topic of discussion in round 1, and obviously in this series, I felt it was probably the deciding factor in losing Game 7 today.
Oftentimes it seems like if you're giving up points defensively, it affects your offense. Did you get the sense in the fourth quarter that maybe it was the other way around, that there was some frustration, maybe a little bit of over-anxiety that set in on your offense and affected your defense, that your defense was actually better than the 29 points you gave up, and it was the offense that had a lot to do with their scoring 29 points in the fourth quarter, more so than the defense?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Obviously, I agree. Most of the times, teams allow their offensive struggles to dictate their defensive intensity and attention to detail. I thought in that fourth quarter, our guys were all known that we're struggling to score the ball. We're struggling to make shots that we've made all year long. High percentage looks by some of our best players. But even with that, yes, 29 points. I'm not sure how many of those were from the foul line and how many came in second chance points. So I thought the initial defense throughout the night was really good. I thought our ability to chase down long rebounds or just to keep them off the glass was poor. And again, we left everything out there, but 21 second chance points, I can't say it enough. I thought that was our inability to end the rebound, end the possession with a rebound was really deflating. When you play good defense for 22 seconds, we get a rebound, we outlet the ball, Lillard gets a steal, they hit a corner 3. Those plays are demoralizing because you know that, man, we're having a hard time scoring. When we get stops, we can't keep giving them second chance opportunities. So, yeah, this will stay with us. Last year, I'll end it with this. Game 82 in Minnesota, losing overtime, chance to go to the playoffs. That was a rallying cry. That was a motivating loss. All summer long, mini camps, summer league, training camp, preseason, regular season, first round, second round. It was a motivating force. Tonight's loss is going to motivate us. It's going to motivate not just Jamal Murray because he was 4 of 18, but we have now tasted what it's like to win in the playoffs. We have tasted how close we were to get to the Western Conference Finals. So we'll use that to come back a better team, and I look forward to that challenge. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.